I
Yes.
see the button now. I see the button to go live. We are officially live. Holy cow.
That's okay. That's okay. This is like exciting because this is your first time doing a live stream. So like this is going to be a great learning experience. But you're doing so much better than, I did. And then being on other people's live streams, I've had so many problems in the past, like with audio, with video. This is going well. It's going very smoothly.
I was just so nervous. And then I was like, oh crap, am I going to get everything set up and approved in time to be able to do this on time? And just all these thoughts. And so I'm glad it's working out so far. So yeah.
When did you set up the StreamYard account?
I think, what was it, about a week ago?
Oh, good.
About that. And I thought it was like, oh, I hope I have enough time. Hi.
Hey, Naomi. I just watched your TBR video. It was fantastic.
I love TBR videos.
Me too. So much fun. It's too much fun. And hopefully I will have the motivation to do mine this month. Hopefully I'll have the motivation to do anything on BookTube this month.
Yeah, sometimes you just get to a point where it's like, meh, I don't really feel like it, and just ride that wave. And
yeah, which hasn't happened in the 2 years I've been on BookTube yet. This is the first time that I've really been like, just having a hard time with it. Hey, Shell.
Hello.
Just talked about you, actually, Shell. Hello, Mac. How you doing? Yeah, I actually have played my game, though, and I've played Bookopoly-thon because I'm participating in that. I've done all the stuff I need to do. Now I just need to prepare my TBR script and then work on it. Hey, John, glad you could join us this time live. Wait, what? Yeah, we were talking about how you're a magnet for getting rear-ended.
That's awful. I've been rear-ended once. I've been sideswiped twice. I had someone pull out of a parking lot in front of me.
Oh.
And then I had someone T-bone me and flip me on the roof. So.
No. Yeah. Oh, Christine, that's frightening.
Yeah. And I only just got a couple of just little bumps, nothing serious, but they were surprised I didn't end up in the hospital or anything. So, but yeah, that. And it was interesting because it happened like maybe 30 minutes before the elementary school got off for the day. And my car slid several feet into the crosswalk where the kids would have been. So it's like, I'm so glad it happened when it did and not when school was there.
That is horrifying. That's absolutely horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Well, I hate driving.
Well, with my insurance policy going up as much as it has, I'm not really liking it. We were talking about insurance policies because mine has gone. Last time my 6-month plan was like 700 and something, and it's gone up to 1,000 and something all of a sudden. So, which I heard Geico was going to be increasing their rates, but not by $300 some. Like that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's extensive. I'm wondering if there's like an error on their end because it doesn't sound like it should go up that much.
Well, last time it went up by 100, and I contacted them, and they were able to explain everything to me, and it was legit. And so now I'm going to go back and look at the bit by bit because that's way more than 6%.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm a little. That kind of freaked me out this morning when I saw that bill. So,
Yeah. Yours got increased too, huh? By tons. It's always bad when you're expecting just a little increase and then it's always, 5 times higher than you.
Yeah, that's horrifying. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And for a student who doesn't have that kind of money,
well, yeah.
Where's this coming from?
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyways, enough about that. Hey.
Hey. All right. So what are your overview thoughts or feelings about Voyage of the Dawn Treader?
Okay, so I listened to that one on audiobook, and I was more excited about it because I love books on ships and I love journey books than I ended up being about it. I still liked it. I'd probably give it a 3.75 or something along those lines. I still enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as some of the other ones, which I actually expected to enjoy this one even more. And there were parts of it that I really liked. And what it reminded me of was, Now my brain stopped.
Oh.
What's that famous classic Gulliver's Travels? Like,
Oh,
it
yeah.
felt like he was kind of going in the direction of Gulliver's Travels with the travel element and going to all these different lands where they had to come up against different things. Of course, it didn't have the same level of satirical writing that Gulliver's Travels did, but like it had that same vibe to me.
Okay.
What about you?
Well, I've never read Gulliver's Travels, so I'm taking your word on that, but I do have the book to read. So, but I liked it. I think there was one thing in this that I love books set on a ship or at sea, partly because I do have that fear of water. And so I kind of live outside of that fear through a book. So, but one thing that stood out to me that I thought I can see this being very humorous to a child, because it's a certain word that kept popping up. I'm like, I can see this just the target age range just giggling about it. And me, it just confused me to no end, is when they kept calling the part of the boat the poop.
Yeah, the poop deck.
Yeah, I'm like, I kept going, now what the heck is the poop deck?
That was very distracting to me too. And I know I don't think it's called the poop deck as much anymore. So that's why I think also, when you hear books about ships, they don't usually just refer to that as the poop all the time in stories.
No, I've read books with a ship, and this is the first time I've ever heard it called the poop deck at any point. So that's why I just call it the poop. It would just be so jarring. I'm like, I don't understand this.
This is a dirty ship. It's a dirty ship.
That must be one smelly area of the ship.
Yeah, that was jarring for me too, because it was used so often. That term was used all the time.
Yeah, I think it was a little overused. I think if it would have been mentioned just a couple of times, it would have been fine, but I think it was a little overdone.
I think maybe C.S. Lewis, and I'm thinking of poo all the time now. I think C.S. Lewis actually knew. He thought that term was funny too. And so he thought, I'm writing this for kids. It's a funny term. I'm just going to use it over and over and over again and make the kids giggle. I bet you he did. Because
let's see, he says it's a common nautical term. So is it still really common as to when it was used? That's just my question, is when it was, obviously used in the book, or is it used less often, or still very common? Or maybe we're just commoners compared to those that sail that we don't know,
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like all the ship books, even the Treasure Island and some of the older classic ship books I've read. I don't ever remember poop being as big of a term used in those ships as commonly and as often.
Yeah, really.
As distractingly, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. What I do like in the particular edition that I have is it actually has a picture drawn of the Dawn Treader, and I can see where the poop deck is right next to the tiller, and and so it's like just seeing all the people row the boats and everything. It was just pretty cool to have a drawing of it so I can kind of see more of where everything is. That's because since they were on the boat so much,
Yeah,
let's see.
Really
Naomi,
cool that you got that.
Yeah, Naomi says, I enjoy the story in ship parts, but I feel like Voyage is too much like a short story collection for me to love. I can see that.
Now, that's kind of where I liken it to Gulliver's Travels. Now, I really like Gulliver's Travels. I'm a big fan, except for I don't like the third part, which is like the third story in Gulliver's Travels. So to me, Gulliver's Travels is sectioned off into 4 stories. And so you've got the first, second, fantastic. The third story, if you eliminated that third part of Gulliver's Travels and just had the first, second, and fourth, it would be a great book. I'd probably give it 5 stars because I absolutely loved, and I know not everybody loves Gulliver's Travels, but I really loved it. And but yeah, that's kind of why I think I likened it to that book, because to me this felt like it was sectioned off into specific journeys or part of the journey, so specific short stories that were part of this grander journey.
Yeah,
and
I can see that.
I agree with you on that, Naomi.
Yeah, I like the travels in the books. I don't know, but I like it when there has to be the little adventures in among the travels. Can't just be constant trying to get somewhere and walking, because then it just gets way too dull.
Yeah.
So anyway.
What do you think of the characters in this one, in particular, Eustace?
Yeah. Oh man, Eustace. So this was this a second
This was his
time?
first.
I
So
think,
this
oh, this one is his first. That's right.
Voyage.
Because he's also in the silver chair. So that's why I'm thinking,
Right.
I know I've seen him twice. So yeah, Eustace, oh my gosh, the vibe I get from him is spoiled brat right at the front of the book. And was so annoying and it's eye rolling, and but he gets better as it goes along because he kind of has these reality checks, like with being turned into a dragon, you know.
I thought that was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
It was kind of a shift, though. I mean, I felt like it was a strange shift from him being this spoiled, rotten brat. The second he becomes a dragon, he goes, "Oh, I miss my friends. I miss people." Yeah, Eustace Scrub. It's a pretty unfortunate name.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. He almost deserves his name. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually, he made me realize that Edmund wasn't that bad in the Eustace. I was like, oh, Edmund wasn't as bad in the first book as Eustace is in this book.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. And what I think one thing that was little, and I understand it had to be done because it's such a short book, but it's like the shift in Eustace's character is so fast. I mean, it's, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I wish there was just a little bit more time with him learning.
I think so too. I had an issue. I love him in Repeat. Okay, I'm going to have an unpopular opinion here.
Okay.
I was not a huge fan of Reba Cheap. I thought he was annoying and very frustrating, and like he just wasn't wise in the choices that he would make. He just wanted to run into battle constantly, and I'm like, you're going to get everybody killed because you're thinking very foolishly. To me, Reba Cheap was incredibly foolish, and so I mean, granted, I liked him in the end. So, I mean, this isn't a popular opinion. So, most people are not going to agree with me. But I did not like his character. He was probably my least favorite character.
Yeah, Repeat Cheap is awesome. I think
I wanted to smack him half the time.
Yeah, I think with Repeat Cheap, I'm kind of on the fence. I love Repeat Cheap in certain parts because I love his devotion and loyalty and his willing to die for people that he loves, but
he was willing to put himself into situations where he didn't need to die. He was like, I want to die for you, but you don't need to die for anybody. Like that drove me nuts. And I'm a very practical person. So Reba Cheap's behaviors were not, to me, they were foolish, and like he's going to get everybody in trouble with his behaviors. And so I don't know. It's me. Yeah. Everybody, it's me. I know, because nobody agrees with me. So it's okay. That's fine.
No. Well, and like I said, I liked that he's willing to do that, but at the same time, my mind would kind of go, but is there another way? Is this really the only way? So it's kind of like, back and forth. I think I like Repeat Cheap more, than I don't like Repeat Cheap, but it's definitely not my favorite character.
Yeah. I didn't hate him, obviously. He's not a bad character. He's not a bad person. He's a very noble mouse. Yeah. But I really did not like every single time. He just wanted to charge in there. And that's not the way and Shell, you should know this because we played World of Warcraft together. You know that I hate people who just charge in there and don't think about things. So like she's gasping, but come on, you know my personality, Shell. You know that Reba Cheap is someone who would not work for me. I don't care for that.
Let's see. She says, I'm curious if you'd like him better in the movie. Maybe.
I need to see the movies. Especially, I want to wait till we finish these, but I want to go back and watch all of them.
Mm-hmm. It's been years since I saw the first movie, or at least the newer version of it when it recently came out, like early to mid 2000s or something like that. So I'd have to go back and watch it because I don't remember any mouse in it. So I've got to go back and watch it. So.
Voyage he was in Prince Caspian. Leroy J. It's from a webcomic that just run in. Oh no, that was from a World of Warcraft. Someone who just would run into So in World of Warcraft, you've got these big areas where there are these raids and stuff. And someone, I can't remember who, was somebody we know, Shell? I can't remember. Is it like a meme? Anyways, someone would run into these huge raid zones and just yell Leroy Jenkins and get everybody killed. And it would piss everybody off to no end because it was, yeah, that's a long time ago. My brain doesn't work, Shell.
Naomi says he is rash, but I love his way of connecting with people. I do like that too. I think he added a sense of urgency to the end goal. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, he did. Yes, that's right. It's a YouTube thing. Okay, I remember. Okay. So yeah, it's that rashness. Thank you for the word, Naomi, because I couldn't remember the word. I kept thinking like he does this thing that I don't like, and I don't like that rashness. But yeah, he's a charming mouse. He's a charming mouse, and he's not a bad guy at all in any shape. But as far as like favorite characters, he wouldn't be there at the top. But I know he's a lot of people's favorite characters, so I feel. Hopefully I didn't lose any subscribers.
No, I think my favorite character out of all of it is, I really like Lucy and the next connection that she has with Aslan. But I think out of everyone, my favorite is Aslan, mostly because he's a lion and part of the cat family, and I'm obsessed with cats. So that's pretty easy.
I think I like Aslan best too, actually, not because of the cat family thing, but because I just like, he always comes in at the right time, and granted that's what he's supposed to do. But I also like that he's not necessarily just some amazing, Aslan's not this amazing creature that's always there to make you feel better about yourself. Like he has that element of like, okay, you did wrong, but let's move forward. Recognize that you did wrong. Like I liked how his character always brought a sense of, maybe it's because I like that sense of balance. Like he brought the like, okay, this is how we're going to move forward, and he was very practical, and also like this is where we could have improved, and you shouldn't be doing that. And he wasn't like this just sweet, gentle lion. He was also this lion that they kind of, I thought he was pretty regal and cool.
Yeah. So let's see on this. What are your thoughts about like Prince Caspian and what his journey is?
He seems so young. How old is he actually in this? I couldn't figure it out.
I think he's, is it Edmund, the oldest brother? No.
Peter.
I think he's the same age as the eldest brother in this.
Okay.
But he does seem much more mature, which I guess is understandable with the heat that he got from his dad, and
until the end, when he wants to continue on to the end of the earth, even though he is the king and is supposed to stay, and he gets a little upset, understandably though, because he's going this incredible adventure. At an adventure, you want to see the end of it.
He wants to see everything come to fruition. He wants to see how it's going to end and how things are going to resolve, and what they're going to affect and all of that. But so it was kind of a little tantrum, I guess, that he had when he was like, oh, I can't do that. And so that kind of showed more of his young age,
Yes. Well, and he is young. Like we can't forget that he is young. It is easy to forget when we have these other characters that are younger than the characters in Narnia. But although, how old is he in Voyage of the Dawn Treader? He's got to be older than he was in Prince Caspian.
Yeah, I think he was probably in Prince Caspian more like Lucy's age is what I get the vibe with. And then in Prince Caspian, he's more like the eldest brother as far as that age goes.
Yeah, so probably like late teens, I'm guessing.
Mid to late teens, yeah.
I liked him. I think I liked, of all the places they went the most, I found the little feet people the most interesting, the invisible people that the wizard had made them invisible because they were so annoying. He's like, I need to humble you by making you ugly, and then make you disappear because you're obnoxious.
Yeah, that was fun.
I had to use their feet to like. I love those.
Around.
I love feet.
Yeah. I think the other scene that stood out to me is the one where they were at like a lake, and then when something would go in, it would turn, I think was it gold or
Gold.
something, and then
Yeah.
it would sink to the bottom. And it's like they see this friend laying at the bottom, and it's like, well, we got to reach him. But then they realize, well, that's not going to work now.
It's then you turn to the goal. Yeah. It's not, yeah. Some really creative ideas, I thought. Really
Mhm.
interesting creative ideas. Like the turning, either if you touch any of the water, you'll turn it. Anything around it turns into gold that touches the water. I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was very much kind of like, I guess, a naturized take on, oh, what's his name, the emperor with the golden touch or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where everything
Is
he
that
touches turn into gold, where everything that touches the lake in this case turns to gold.
Midas?
So it was like it was a naturized
Yeah.
version. I just can't remember
Is that
that guy's
Midas?
name.
Midas?
Yes, Midas, King Midas with the golden touch. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I,
Phil
it
says
was, so
King
you
Midas.
could, anyways, yeah. So you definitely see like the influences from other places,
Mhm.
from other things, and
Yes.
maybe more so in Voyage of the Dawn Treader, because he had so many opportunities to pull different stories into, because
Hmm.
it like we said, it's like short stories.
Hmm.
I hope I didn't piss everybody off with my reap cheap thing. I'm so
No,
sorry.
no, you're good. Yeah. Everyone's in, you just get your own
In
opinion about
shock,
stuff.
and they're not going to say anything anymore because.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
guys.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So, what did you think of Prince Caspian? Like, as far as his personality and his character?
Hmm. I thought one thing, it's like I knew I was kind of torn because it's like I knew he was young, like we had said. And Shell says, "You like who you like?" Yeah. I was torn because it's like I knew that he was young, like mid to late teens at the eldest,
Mhm.
and but at the same time he was acting probably like 10 to 15 years older than he really was, just because of all this weight on his shoulders with being a king.
Yeah.
And so it was at times it just got a little confusing, and I had to remind myself, okay, he's younger than he is, so even if you're wrong.
I'm sure I am. I'm sure I am.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think for me, Caspian took more of a back seat, as far as the characters goes. I feel like as prominent as he was supposed to be, I kind of think Lucy shone through a lot more. So
Yeah, I agree. And I felt like this was a good Lucy book. Like, this was a really
yes.
good, her character. She didn't have the same changes to make that Edmund had to make, but like she was growing up, and it was good to see
Yes.
her growing up, because I still kind of felt like when Aslan said she couldn't come back anymore, that she was
Hmm.
young enough that she could probably still come back,
Yeah.
but um, he decided she was done. So it was good to see that change in her, so that you don't feel as
Mhm.
bad for her at the end when he
Yeah.
doesn't let her come anymore.
Yeah. So
And
it's more like when Aslan says you can't come back, it doesn't have to do with your age. You've reached the age limit of coming to Narnia. It's you've reached the maturity level. You're too,
right, and
you've
that's what I realized
outgrown.
from this one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was more of an age thing when he
Mhm.
said Peter and
Uh,
what's
Susan.
what is Susan, when Peter and Susan couldn't come anymore. So that was more like a. But you're right. It's specifically maturity. And Lucy was a very wise little girl. She was a very wise little
Yes.
girl, and I.
Yeah. Let's see. Naomi says, I love the different events that happened to the lords. It makes it unique to each island. Yes. Yeah. That was a lot of creativity from C.S. Lewis. So they don't all just die in a battle. They all have their own, you know, what brought them
Mhm.
to their demise, basically. You have the one that slept,
Yeah, those were cool.
yeah,
That
and
and I
the
felt really
lake.
bad for the one that was in the dream cloud, the darkness.
Hmm.
Which the dream place, which I don't know if that place actually forced you to see your dreams, or if because he was
Hmm.
saying that and he was raving about it, it made everybody on the ship freak out and think that they were
Yeah.
going to be seeing their dreams. And therefore, like, you know, he spent so much time in the darkness, and he probably dealt with all that stuff coming up and coming up and coming up. So then when he told them that, all of a sudden everybody was like, oh yeah, my worst dreams. But like it was sort of, I felt like he kind of put that into their minds.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, but
yeah, no, and I think it was kind of looking back on it. I kind of can't help thinking, is it a little bit more psychological, than did he really live through it? But just because it's not realistic for everyone else doesn't mean it's any less realistic for you because you're going through it. And so I kind of think it was maybe a play on that. I don't know. Still thinking about that.
Yeah, that was an interesting section of it, and
Yeah.
trying to figure out what exactly was going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm trying to remember what happened at the end because I've got Silverchair in my brain now, but
Well,
yeah,
I know that they got to that table with all the food and they wanted to eat, but they couldn't because the other guy, 3 men there that were like really old, were sleeping, and they didn't know if what they ate or drank caused them to fall into that never-ending state of sleepiness.
and then
The old man came, and it was his daughter that came up before that to refresh it.
or he was like he had some specific role, and I can't remember what it was. Yeah, and then that was pretty neat that the birds would come and eat everything.
Yeah.
Once a day, and then the food. I was like, man, as a kid, I would have loved this part of the story.
Yeah.
I like food. I've always liked food, and I'd have been like, oh, what a cool feast! It's like Hook when they have the feast that the Lost Boys have. Have you ever seen Hook? I don't know. If
yeah. Yeah.
Lost Boys feast scene. Like as a kid, like that was one of my.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Always been a well-fed child, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Well, and they're. We're gonna.
Hello, welcome.
Yay. And I think this with the whole table was my favorite thing, like you had said with the birds, but then you have the girl that's there where Caspian kind of gets attracted to her, and then, yeah. And then I guess it was her dad that shows up and kind of gives some orders. You can only go this far. And that was when the turmoil started to really happen within Prince Caspian. But then he got to go back. And I think in the end, didn't he marry that girl? I think that was one of the things he had to do. Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
And they did end up going to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the end, they just were kind of in Narnia, or in Aslan's land, and he opened up a door in the sky, and they all got to go home at that point, right? That's pretty much what happened.
Yeah,
once
something
they
like that.
Big wave thing, like that giant wave thing, and the Reepicheep jumped over.
Yeah.
So rash. I know that was his goal, was to die, basically.
Yeah. Well, I think what was interesting with getting towards the end of the world is how the closer you got to the end of the world, it seemed like everything got brighter and whiter, and you saw more whiteness and goldness instead of all the other colors throughout the rest of the world. So that was, I think, a pretty interesting thing to see that progression.
And the water got fresh, and it got sweeter, and they could drink the water, and that would substitute for food. Like everything they needed as they got closer and closer to Aslan's land was like it made them healthier, happier. Like they didn't need wind because the boat just moved on its own.
Yep.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And I liked too the take on the different version of the mer people below the boat that Lucy saw. They were kind of, I don't know if I want to say if it's like impish is the right word, but they were tiny. And is kind of what
I'm really tiny, or were they just really far down?
I think one of the two might have been really far down.
I mean, I really kind of wanted more of that. I wanted to explore that waterland more, underwater land. Thought that would have been really cool.
Yeah. And I kind of got the impression too with it that it's like some of the mer people were intrigued about the boat, but some of those were mad. And so it's like, yeah.
They're like, we're going to get you.
Yeah. No, I think they were small because like the picture of the chapter where it's like the wonders of the last sea, where it shows the mer people. What's interesting is the picture, they don't have fins. They have legs, just like us, at least in the picture of the chapter heading in my book, but they're all riding seahorses. So I think that's what made me think they're small.
They must be small because they're riding.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the king has the trident and the crown, but they've all, they've all got legs like humans.
Yeah. I'm trying to see where my chapter is. How the adventure ended. Anyways, Dufflepeds, those are what those guys were. I liked those weird feet.
Those were fun. Those I would think that would be like, I could maybe go there for 2 or 3 hours, but then I'd be kind of full with their antics and needed a break. But they'd be like
so annoying.
Fun for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the magician too, there, that was cool.
And didn't he get exiled there? He got exiled there for doing something wrong.
I think, yeah, he did, and then I think part of one of the things I really liked is when Lucy was reading the book at this place to try and make them more visible. She's coming across all this other stuff, like the story that she wants to just keep reading and that it's never going to end. And then she has trouble flipping the pages and she feels like someone's watching her, but she turns around, there's no one there. So there's a little bit of a creep factor there. Mm-hmm. But then when she does make everyone visible, you find out that the magician got invisible as well. He's just not home. He's there. He's just invisible along with Aslan. And I liked that when she was done, it's like, well, we've always been here. You just couldn't see us.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I did like that part of the story a lot. So I think that was one of my more enjoyable short stories, let's just say. Yeah. Of this particular of Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What did everybody else think? Like, let us know in the comment section down below. What was your rating? What were your thoughts?
Yeah. Yep. Did you guys like it? Is this what's out of what we've read so far? Which book in the Chronicles of Narnia is your favorite?
What's yours? Lion, Witch in the Wardrobe.
I know.
Prince Caspian or Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I don't want to include Silver Chair yet because we're not talking about it quite yet, but maybe we should talk about this at the end and see.
Mm-hmm. I know. I think out of all of them, it's probably pretty tied with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, just because I love how much stuff takes place on the sea. But with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, you're introduced to the world and all the characters and then, and all of that. So I like them both, but for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. I like Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe best so far. Prince Caspian, I really thought I was going to love that one. At the beginning, I thought I was going to really like that one a lot more than even Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. But then, the way it turned, the way the story went, it wasn't that I disliked it, just that it ended up not being it dragged in a lot of parts. I think we talked about this last time. Like, it dragged in a lot of parts. So it wasn't my favorite. It wasn't as much my favorite. That one surprised me because I thought I was going to enjoy it a lot more all the way through.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would still say it's Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yes. Like so far, I would definitely say the Prince Caspian one is my least out of the three. Definitely. Let's see. It was fine, but Voyage is my least favorite so far. I really like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and Silver Chair. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like the Silver Chair. I think that, I'll get to that in a little bit.
We'll get to that too.
Yeah, I missed the comment. For me, it's about the perfect children's book. It's my favorite of the series. Mm-hmm.
Voyage of the Dawn Treader?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that must be.
Probably, yeah. And then Mariana says, honestly, I've only read and loved The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but I wanted to hear your thoughts because I love the series. Yeah, I am definitely loving this series. This is definitely one I'm going to have to revisit every so often. Pick up different things.
I am enjoying it. I was saying I am trying to vlog right now, even though I'm not doing any actual content on my channel. I really like this series. I'm having a lot of fun with it, but I don't have a problem putting it down. Like, when I'm reading it, I don't get so engrossed in it that I can't put it down, which I don't know if that's because, like, if I had read this as a child, if I would feel differently. Mm-hmm. Well, you read it as a child and you didn't enjoy it. So how do you, like, when you're reading it now, are you finding that you have a hard time putting it down?
Yes.
Okay.
Then definitely. And I think part of it is I think as a child, so they say, hey, all listen up, definitely the Dawn Treader. Yeah. I think as a child, I found that it was what I now know is to be dense and it just felt like it was so hard to get through and very slow moving. And obviously as a kid, because there's less embellishments on certain things, it's more surface level. But I think as a middle grade, this has more depth to it than the stuff that we see a lot of now today. And so I think it was just harder to get through because I just wasn't understanding things and connecting. But now with being a more, advanced reader and stuff, you definitely pick up on a lot more of the hints and the, little treasures in it. And so it's definitely much more enthralling as an adult.
I what I'm really excited about this book is I'm really excited to reread this by reading it to my students. That seems like it could be a lot more of an exciting.
Yes.
I think I'll enjoy it even more if I'm sharing it out loud with kids. I really like the audiobooks. I feel like I lose parts of the story when I listen to an audio. So when I read it physically, I remember more, but when I listen to the audio, I really enjoy the narrations. But
the narrators do fantastic.
I feel like for me, this is going to be way more fun when I get to share it with kids.
Yes.
Just because I feel like seeing it through their eyes will have that I don't know, maybe I don't get as excited by things anymore.
No, I get it. And this is definitely one of the things that you can have kind of like a book club discussion with the kids and help them discover new things. And so to see them learn all these other things, I think would be wonderful, and would be just really fun. So, by the way, you both look great. Aw, thank you.
Thank you so much. Sweet.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, and that's one thing that it's like, I'm 38 and I'm single and I have no kids, but I would love to have kids in the future at some point. And this is definitely the series that I can see if I ever get the chance to be a mom, or maybe go into a library and read, or to a school and kind of do like a reading time. This is definitely a series that would be top of the list to sit down and read to kids. And have
I think it would be very fun for that.
Yeah, get them kind of teaching them how to really think and kind of think outside the box and stuff like that. I think this would be a great book for them. So let's see. Naomi says, I love The Lion and Silver Chair. They are both 5 stars for me, as was Prince Caspian and Voyage, or 4 stars. Yes. Yeah, Prince Caspian was a star less. I think I did Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe 5 stars, and then 4. It's hard, when it's been a little bit, it's hard to remember exactly what I rate him. But yeah, it was definitely 1 star less for me than Lion, the Witch, and Wardrobe as well. So.
Yeah, I would agree that Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and Silver Chair are my favorites of these 4.
Yep. And then Naomi says, Silver Chair is my favorite up to this point. It's just ahead of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I completely agree with that. I loved the Silver Chair.
I have comments about that, so I can't wait to talk about it because I have thoughts. Okay, but we'll just continue on.
Okay, so the other comment, and then we're current for now. It says, from Mariana, she says, I do have a question. Do the other books have the same wintry vibes that The Lion had? Sorry for my English if I've made mistakes, but I'm Italian. No worries. You're doing really good.
English is great. Yeah.
Yes. As far as the wintry vibes, I'm going to say no, because I think the other ones kind of take place more in the spring and summer or something like that. I don't get the winter vibes in the other.
Silver Chair, there were quite a few winter vibes during the whole giant scene.
Yeah, there was. Definitely not as much as The Lion and the Witch, though.
No. So. It's not, I wouldn't consider that, when I've looked up, holiday stories, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe usually comes up, but I wouldn't say that the whole series are holiday stories. You could read them during the holidays and it would still be very nostalgic and fun, but I wouldn't say they'd give you the same vibes as The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Well, and I think the holiday thing is kind of thrown off with the first book, because you have the Winter Queen and everything's just an eternal winter in Narnia until she's defeated, and then it becomes spring, and then you get to experience the seasons as the books go on. I'm kind of getting that vibe. So maybe in one of the other books, hopefully we'll come into another wintry book setting, but I don't know. Yeah. So let's see. This one, it says, Shell says, I used to read these to my sibs when they were little. I think it was too slow for them. Yeah, that's how I felt. So it definitely, you'd kind of have to look at either like maturity level or age or something, because definitely for some kids it will be too slow, as it was for me.
I mean, and this is definitely not for me, I know that other people are quicker readers than I am, but for me, this isn't like a middle grade where you just read it really quickly.
Yeah.
They take me longer because they're dense pages. The story is very dense, and the wording is not simplistic the way a lot of middle grade books tend to be. He didn't dumb it. C.S. Lewis didn't dumb it down, for
No, he
younger age.
didn't.
So
No.
I feel
Yeah.
see you in a bit, John, or at least, well, God, we'll see you back here, John, when you
Yeah.
come back and watch it later.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're right. C.S. Lewis definitely did not dumb it down, which I think is good, because it's like in a way, it's like he conveys these situations and talks to the children like they're adults, which, I remember being a kid and wanting to be treated more like an adult. And so I think that definitely kind of gives that vibe off.
Yeah, and I also think that this is a good series to grow with, because as a kid, it may be over your head and there's a lot of things that you miss early on. But the more and more you read this, I mean, I can tell you already that I may enjoy this series more on a reread,
Yes.
because I feel like there's a lot more to get out of it the more you read it. And I can see how the nostalgia would build the more you reread it. And so I think for me, not having ever read it in my life, it's enjoyable, but sharing it with other people, but then also rereading it to catch a lot of the details, because there's so many details. There's so many little instances in these stories that there's things going on that I could see it being something that would grow with children really well. They may, like you said, like when you're younger, it would seem kind of boring, but as you get older, you start picking up new things, or new parts become more interesting. Maybe you're going through phases as a child and the kids are appealing to you more than others. Like, maybe they identify with Lucy, but then later on they identify with Peter. And like, I could see like liking different parts of this as you get older.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Naomi says, Horse and His Boy is very summerish. Magician's Nephew is all over season wise, and Last Battle feels like fall to me. Ooh.
I mean, Last Battle would seem like, I'm glad we're going to be reading it in the fall, because it feels like
yeah,
it would
I know. I was thinking that. I was like, oh, that'd be good timing. Kind of immerse ourselves a bit more. Yeah. Let's see. And then Mariana says, I loved in general all the characters, not only the wintry setting. Thank you both for the answer. Yes, you're very welcome. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the characters are really fun, and it's nice to see the addition of new characters, but you do get to enjoy some of the characters for more than one book. So that is nice, that you don't just you get to enjoy all the characters again in Prince Caspian, but then you lose some of the characters, but you get to enjoy some of the ones from Prince Caspian and Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Then you lose them. So it's kind of nice that these characters kind of get shuttled along so you can enjoy them, the ones you've really formed attachments to.
Yeah. You definitely get more attached to them, like you had said, in this particular way, and I think what I like too is that it's definitely a clever way that C.S. Lewis thought of to continue the series with introducing new ones and having that overlap. So that, because if it was just with the 4, we would end, it'd be just a duology or a trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trilogy.
Agreed.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Silverchair.
Yes, the Silver Chair. Now, I loved this one. I liked, what was her name? Pole. Jill, but she was referred to as Pole. So I liked her, and she was like, part of her was like willing and wanting to believe, but then she also is at that age where she's second guessing and doubting certain things. And so that was interesting to see her journey through that as well. So.
Yeah, so this would have been my favorite book of the 4 if it had not been for Pole and Eustace.
Oh, yeah.
They're my least favorite children characters. They drive me nuts. For the first half of the book, like, those 2 particular characters drive me nuts. I know that's the intention, but I got that from Edmund, and I liked Edmund a lot more. And Eustace and Pole are so disrespectful, and that bugs me. But that being said, and again, probably unpopular opinions, but they're just my least favorite of the kid characters. I really loved the plot of this story above and beyond all the other ones. So this is my favorite plot of all the books. And I really loved where it went, especially. Just got better and better and better and better.
Mhm. So Mariana says, who ended up being your favorite character, since we were talking about characters there for a bit? Mine, I think to this day, is still, aside from Aslan, is Lucy. Um, and she's always been, and it's sad that she's not in here anymore. And I think between the two, between Edmund and Pole, Edmund is my favorite. Or not Edmund, Eustace, excuse me. In this book, in The Silver Chair, Eustace is my favorite compared to Pole. But overall, Lucy is my ultimate favorite child.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Christine. I think I agree with you. Lucy is my favorite of all the children. And Aslan is one of my favorite characters. I did really like Puddleglum. He cracked me up. Like,
Yeah.
his character was hilarious. I thought he was, and I love that of all the Marshwiggles, he was the most outgoing, and he was living a life that was too happy and too excitable, and he couldn't like be like all the other Marshwiggles where he was really dour and down. When he's that character that's like, oh, it's probably gonna be terrible.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Puddleglum was really good. I think he's my favorite side character out of them all, because he's definitely, I mean, he has more of a prevalence in this, but he's definitely I think more considered a side character than a prominent character because of when he comes in and all that. But speaking of Puddleglum, Naomi says, I have so many things to love and about the Silver Chair, but the growth, because of the growth of the characters, but Puddleglum is my second favorite character in the whole series, and I'm having trouble talking now.
Yeah, Puddleglum is probably my favorite of the side characters for sure. Yeah. And he's rivaling as one of my favorite characters. I just thought he was hilarious.
Yeah.
I really like what he brought to the story. I agree with you, Naomi, that the growth of the characters is big in this one. But for some reason, I liked Edmund's growth better. To me, that felt a little more, I don't know. I had a problem with these two characters.
Yeah, no. Let's see. Mariana says, I love Lucy too. She's so cute and full of life. Yes. And I like that she's more willing to believe certain things, that it's not, so much second guessing and doubting things. So I really liked that as well.
She was brave. Such a brave kid.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. Naomi says, I love a great and unique side character. It is rare that I love a main character more. Yes. Yeah. Completely different series. The Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne. I can't remember the name of the main character, but the side characters, there were two, I want to say Bree, but I'm probably wrong, but Craft was the bird side character. And by far, they were the best out of the main characters. So yeah, sometimes those side characters just kind of take the cake.
For the whole Realm of the Elderlings, but the first series, which is the Farseer trilogy, the Fool is my favorite character, above and beyond. Like, absolutely love him. He's a side character in that one. Later on, I think he becomes a main character with Fitz, but so I know what you mean. It's sometimes those side characters,
they just outshine. Yeah.
Well, and they're oftentimes the comedic relief. And oftentimes you can take more chances with the side characters, I think you can, than you can with the main character. The main character has to kind of stay true to a lot of the story arcs, but the side characters really it's like with appetizers and a main course meal. This is like I went to culinary school, so like your main course meal, you have to offer like a chicken, a fish, and a meat, and then a vegetarian. But like when it comes to the appetizers, that's where you get to be creative. You get to try different things, and you don't have to do anything in particular. And that's kind of how I feel like the whole main character, side character thing is. It's like side characters, you can really put whatever you want in there because you at least have that main character tying the whole story together.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. No, you're good. All right, we have, I laughed when they were like, sorry for calling you a wet blanket. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what I had such a hard time with Eustace and Pole. They were so rude and mean, and the words they used against Puddleglum and against each other. And I was just like, these kids are just disrespectful, so disrespectful. And I know that was the intention. Like, that was what you were supposed to. They were supposed to be that way so that they could learn to be different. And I did like them a lot more once we hit that point where Jill learned the folly of her ways. But it was very frustrating to the point of, like, I was just really frustrated up until that point where I wasn't enjoying reading it as much in the beginning as I did, like, once we hit a certain part where the action really started taking off. Like, I loved it so much. And because I loved the plot of this one so much, like, this was my favorite plot of all the books, it was a bummer for me that I wasn't enjoying it as much in the beginning. Because then I would be like, oh, this is my favorite. This is 5 stars. This is amazing, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like with Eustace, his character kind of backslid into his old ways and thinkings and behaviors. And so, which is just like life. You learn something, but then you backslide and you start doing the old stuff again and have to relearn things. And so I thought that was good that it kind of showed that he had to relearn things, because that's very much like life.
True. Yes.
But I was disappointed when I started out the story and he was back to his old Eustace ways. So.
Yeah, definitely more realistic too. I agree. And I can't fault C.S. Lewis for creating these characters and having these characters be the way they are. It was just that they ended up rubbing me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Big time.
And maybe part of that's just because we have more wisdom in life, and so they just rub us wrong, you know?
Which is so funny, because if I was in a class with these students, I think I would feel much, you know, like I'd be frustrated, but I would know how to handle it better. But when you're just reading about it and you can't interact with these characters and be like, okay, now let's stop for a second. You know, you then it's really frustrating.
Yes, exactly. And I think one of the things I liked about this one is I did feel like, at least at the beginning and at the end of the book, there was a little bit more of them being in the real world rather than in Narnia, or at least in our modern world. And so I liked seeing a little bit more of them in our world, just to kind of see how they take things.
And see the struggles they're going through in their real world. Yeah. And it is nice to see, like, Jill, she is a very timid character in the beginning. And that kind of leads into her unwillingness to do things and try things and get frustrated with situations in Narnia at the beginning. And then, of course, once she learns her lesson, in a sense, you know, you can see that she grows a lot and she becomes stronger, which actually will make her stronger in the end. But so I do agree with you that it was nice to see a little more of their real world experience, so that you can see how that plays in their character a bit.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I would say too is I never thought with C.S. Lewis that I would see this, but I do like that he tries to stay as realistic with some things while adding the magical elements, because you have the aspect of Paul and Eustace having those bullies come after them, you know, and that teachers aren't so nice at the school, you know.
At school?
Yeah, I know.
Or experiment house? Horrible. Yeah.
I know. I liked what happened at the end of the book with that school and the bullies. Yeah, that was, I think, one of my favorite parts of that, because it just kind of got me chuckling, and, you know.
Especially because the principal actually ends up becoming a member of parliament. Like, she's going to become an investigator of other school heads, and then she wasn't doing so well in that, so they just put her in parliament. I just thought that was like such a jab at, you know, C.S. Lewis is jabbing, obviously, the what is that? I don't know enough about the politics to be able to say which side that is, but, like, obviously taking a jab at the politics.
Yeah. Just jab at politicians in general. Yeah.
I thought that was really funny. But yeah, I'm glad it happened, because, yeah, obviously that experiment was not going so well.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. So let's see. When I like too that the situation with Paul was very, it just keeps going back to being realistic, that kids can relate to, and everyone can relate to. Like with Paul at the beginning of the book, when Eustace leaves and she's stuck there at the top of the hill, how Aslan comes, tells her, you know, you've got these steps to follow. And then she goes and she repeats them to herself over and over. She remembers them, but then life happens in this world of Narnia, and she starts to forget the steps. And she then kind of starts to beat herself up. But then here comes Aslan. You know, it's okay. We got there eventually, type of a thing.
Yeah. And that was, like, kind of what I said, why I liked Aslan, that he's not this character who's just going to be like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's okay, sweetheart. It's okay. Don't worry. He was like, you basically just sent that boy to his death. Yeah. Now, what are we going to do about this now? You know, like, I liked that Aslan was very, the moralistic element of Aslan, that he wasn't just there to be their best friend. He wasn't just there to save the day. He was there to teach them a lesson about how to be a better human being. And I appreciate that because it makes him a more interesting character as well, because he could just be this fairy godmother that saves the day every single time, and it makes the story a lot more predictable and a lot less interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But he's this fierce lion. He never stops being a fierce lion. And I do enjoy that quite a bit about this series in general.
Yeah, I definitely agree, with him. He acknowledges what happened rather than just kind of brushing it under the rug. I like that he acknowledges it, and it's like he turns it back to the kids. Okay, what are we going to do? But he helps guide them along the way, but yeah, he still leaves it up. It's like, hey, you got in this mess. What can you do to get out of it, type of a thing. And I like that.
He never lets them flounder. When they're starting to flounder, he sends them messages through her dream. He's trying to let them do what they need to do to follow his directions and grow. But at the same time, he never just leaves them to flounder. Like I said, flounder. That's probably the best word. He never just completely leaves them and completely allows them to be destroyed. He doesn't want to do things for them, but he has to guide them because they are children. They're still children at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I liked when they were with all the giants, how it was kind of like you felt like they started to get kind of lured into a sense of safety and that they were going to have a good time with these giants. And then that revelation came to pull, and it's like, man, we got to get out of here, and especially when they saw the recipe book.
The recipe book was so good.
Yeah, that recipe book of like eating the character of, I'm blanking on it, but yeah, Puddlegum. I kind of wanted to say
marshmallows.
Yeah, and then eating human children, and it's like
I was listening to that whole section, even where they meet the Green Witch and the knight who was, really. And when they meet him on the bridge, I was reading that the whole time, and I was like, no, they're gonna feed you to the giants. Like, that's not. I was listening to it on audiobook, so that I was yelling at my radio, like, no. She's going to feed you to the giants. Like, I could already tell what was going to happen. And I knew at that point, not that Lillian was in the knight suit, but I knew that she was the witch. Like, because she had green. They said she had green trailer. Her skirt was green. So I'm like, no.
Well, and I kept with the Green Witch. I'm like going, is she like the stepsister or cousin of the White Witch? They've
obviously bad. Oh, yeah. I did think that too. I was like, is she going to end up being the White Witch? Like, I was thinking that.
Yeah. I was genuinely shocked when they accidentally ate the talking deer. Yeah. That was kind of sad. Yeah.
Oh, wait, Naomi said something.
Oh, let's see. His moment after they get out is hilarious. Puddlegum expects the world literally burn down while they should be celebrating. Yeah. He doesn't escape the gloominess.
No. Well, that's what made him such a good Marshwiggle in the end. I just loved it. Yeah. He's like, they're like, you became the most unhappy, like not unhappy, but most like, and then they're like, congratulations, you should be so happy that you're genuinely a Marshwiggle now. You're really sad, dour, unhappy.
Looks on the bad side. Yeah.
Looks on the bad side of things.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And yet he was still likable. I was afraid he wouldn't be.
Yes.
Because of that. He was still really likable.
Yeah. Right, and I was kind of concerned when he first started with all of the gloominess that it would get very old and tiring and too repetitive, but it just was done in such a way that it was just stayed enjoyable. And that was nice.
Yeah, I was worried about that too. So I'm glad it did stay nice. It did stay enjoyable.
Yeah. So what were your thoughts when Caspian's son, when they found him in the room, because he had to be locked up, and it's like the thoughts that he had of how the Green Witch was the greatest, and he was going to help her and all that, but then when he's locked up and they find him locked up and alone in that room, that one time where he's back to his old senses, I don't know if I realized it was the chair right away, but it's like I definitely knew something magical was up with that. So.
Well, I could tell, I pretty much was, like, I was pretty sure that he wasn't going to turn into a serpent and that he wasn't going to try and kill everybody during that hour. I didn't know what was going to happen to him, but I was pretty sure that was not accurate. I just didn't know that, like you said, the chair was bewitched and that was keeping him in this. I was really nervous when we first met Rillian that he had genuinely forgot about the past and that he was completely not bewitched, but like he had been with the queen so long that he completely forgot about his past, and that it would be a lot harder to get him to know that he's Prince Rillian again. I thought it was a lot more challenging. But then knowing that he was having, like every day he'd have an hour of remembering who he was, like that made me feel like, okay, this situation can be saved a lot easier than it seemed like it could at first.
Yeah, and I liked how it's like once they cut and destroyed the silver chair, kind of like beheaded it or something like that, that it was like everything just finally came back, and that you knew he wasn't going to go back to supporting the Green Witch and forgetting his previous life. And it's like, this is who he really is. And now he gets to be himself again. So that was a relief at that point.
But the part where she was trying to convince them all that the things they knew were not true and she was working her magic on them, that was so rough. Like I was like, because we know as we're reading this that she's wrong, but you see and then you see that not only happens once, but then Puddleglum is able to pull himself out of it, but then they start getting pulled back under again, and then like they keep getting pulled back under, and it's like no.
Yeah, I know. That's like, I know everything's going to be okay and things are going to work out, but it's just one more thing now. Do they have to? How are they going to defeat the witch with all of this, with her singing and pulling everyone and hypnotizing and trancing them and, and all of that. And so that was definitely a page turning part of the book.
Yeah. Great way to build suspense, because I was genuinely frustrated.
Yes.
I was like, no, stop.
Yeah. Let's see. Naomi says, this is why I don't like most of the covers. A lot of them show the destroying of the chair. Yeah. It is a great reveal scene if you don't look at the front of your book. Yeah. Yeah. In this case, I would definitely say the bind up is a better way to go.
Yeah. I have seen that cover many times, but while I was reading the story, I completely forgot about the silver chair. So it actually didn't ruin anything for me until we actually, and then the situation with the chair is actually pretty short. Like when he's sitting in the chair versus when they actually destroy the chair, it's so short that I don't feel I could have been spoiled by that cover. But knowing the truth, that is a terrible cover to put, like a terrible thing to put on the cover of the book. Like it
definitely gives a lot. And I'm looking at my book, because they all the chapters have a picture, but it's like the part where they're in the castle and he's going to go be in the chair. All it shows is the prince just standing in front of a table, so it's like there's no giveaway there. And then at the start of this bind up book, it's, Puddlegum and Pole and everyone's just traveling.
That's one I have too.
With a horse. Yeah.
There's no silver chair in that one. So
yeah. So it's like that would definitely be a better way to go. So you don't want to spoil.
A big part of, agreed. That's a big part of, it's a big twist.
Mm-hmm. See, Mariana says, I have an edition with all the novels together. Yes.
That's what we have too.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I do wish about these bind up editions is that they were entered in here in publication order. Because with reading all of these, I think it would be a bit more confusing with when someone enters a certain world than compared to when they leave and all of that back and forth if we read it in the order that it is in the book. I just wish it was in the publication order in the books.
I mean, I think it's like a chronological order, right? So like when the story happens. Because even in this, was it Silver Chair? Yes, it is Silver Chair. He mentions the horse and his boy. But he says in that book, this is a story for later. Like, we won't talk about that story till later. I want to, because he wants to share that story, which happens during Peter's reign, it sounds like. So Prince Peter, I guess Peter will be coming back into it because it sounds like the horse and his boy happened during that time. But it's a story that he wants to, C.S. Lewis wants to save, the narrator wants to save for later. So you can tell just by reading these books that he intended for that book to come after this book, even if chronologically it may have come first. And Magician's Nephew is like the first book because chronologically it happens well before this, but I think he wants you to know the whole story of these other books before you
Mhm.
go back and read that one. At least that's what I'm assuming C.S. Lewis' intentions were
Mhm.
based on how he wrote them.
Yeah. Yeah. And that makes sense. It's just one of those things where, as you can see, you have all the siblings, and then the two can't come back, and then it's, you know, Lucy and her brother, and then there's Eustace with them, and then now they can't come back, and it's Eustace with Pole, and so it's like it just makes sense to have it the way that we are reading it.
The way we're
Yeah,
supposed to be reading it.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
so far in reading it, I think that it makes sense to me how we're reading it, publication order.
Yeah.
Um,
So okay, so I do have to ask, when they're there, and I mean, obviously, you know that everyone in the cave with the Green Witch is under her spell. You realize that by the end of her
yeah.
defeat. What are your thoughts on how they kind of, it sounds like they started to celebrate once they realized they were no longer under control and they were back in control with themselves. It's like fireworks going off, yelling and running, and you know, the hiding is taking place closer to the castle because, you know, the kids are there.
Mhm.
They don't know if they can be trusted, but I don't know. I thought it was sad, but yet it kind of felt very joyful to realize a lot of them were celebrating.
Yeah, and I I see that as the same situation that Rillian was in because remember Rillian didn't
Mhm.
remember anything before being
Mhm.
the queen's, prisoner,
Yeah.
and when he was free of that enchantment, he remembered everything. And I think that was the same with the poor gnomes, is that they didn't realize, they knew they were sad. They knew that their life was quiet and it wasn't, but they didn't know that they had known anything differently before this. Like they couldn't remember that there
Mhm.
should be difference, that they should be having fun, they should be laughing, they should be singing, they should be doing all these things that are
Mhm.
common to them. I mean, normal to their personalities when they're
Mhm.
not under this enchantment. So it was really nice to see them come out of this
Mhm.
because I just feel so bad for them. They're so
Yeah.
miserable this whole time, but they don't even, like, they know they're miserable, but they don't realize they're miserable.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Let's see. We've got a couple of comments here. Let's see. Naomi says, I don't think you can get invested in Magician's Nephew without caring about Narnia first. That's a good point. I think it is
Yeah.
a great book, but not the first book in the series. Yeah.
And that was the
Mhm.
first one I ever read. And I read that one because I was reading them chronologically. And I hadn't read any of the other ones. But
Mhm.
I very middle of the road for me. And I think now going back and reading it after having read these ones, like you said, I think I will probably appreciate it a lot more
Mhm.
now that I care about Narnia a lot more.
Mhm.
Now I know more about the whole background
Yeah.
of the story. I'm
Mhm.
interested. I'm excited about reading that one to see if it's changed my opinion about how I feel about that book now.
Mhm. Let's see. Mariana says, so which order do you think I should follow for the best experience, chronological or publication year?
Yeah. And Naomi says publication all the way, and I agree.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly. Yeah. Cause you just, and then thank you, Naomi. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. It's definitely made a difference because you do connect to the characters and the little side characters that you see that occur again, like Reapy Cheap, and then again in the next book. And, you know, I think it just seems more, what's the word I'm looking for? More strung together correctly. I can't even think of the word I'm thinking for, but it
Uh,
just seems better reading it this way, you know? Yeah.
it feels like it to me, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And Shelley says, I could maybe see reading it in publication order the first time because people generally like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe better than The Magician's Nephew. But I read it first chronologically, and I liked it better with the intro. Mhm.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I can see that too. I can see that for other people, it would feel,
Mhm.
you could enjoy that introduction into the whole series better and enjoying bleh, Magician's Nephew kind of giving you a taste into Narnia and
Yeah.
then continuing on. So, it's gonna depend on your personality and what you enjoy. But
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think for myself, I'm enjoying it the way we're reading it.
Yeah. I am too. I am too. And I will say too, with the silver chair, I really liked how it ended with the whole rescue scene, crawling out of the hole and everyone coming and realizing, oh, here they are, we got to go rescue them, and then getting hot chocolate and blankets.
I really want to see that snowball dance. I love the idea of that. I want to see that actually. Is it anybody watch the movies of the Silver Chair and have seen the snowball dance? Because I totally want to see that done.
Yeah, like I've said, I've only seen the first one, but I sure hope that is definitely the scene that it's like, I'm not going to be too happy if I watch that movie and it's not in there. There's certain scenes when you read a book that have to be in the movie, and this better be in there.
Yeah, because it's so cool. Like, I think that would be really fun to see too. So I'm hoping it, but you never know. Maybe it was too complicated to. I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be fun for someone to choreograph too. So maybe if they don't have one, I will choreograph a snowball dance scene.
There you go. Well, and nowadays too,
with friends to participate.
Yeah, there you go. Well, and now with the whole advancement in technology, they're definitely more equipped to put that scene in the movies than they were, even back in the 80s and earlier. So, yeah. Let's see. Naomi says, I haven't yet, but it sounded amazing.
Yeah. Maybe I just have to choreograph it and make all my booktuber friends come and dance.
There you go.
If you're not comfortable dancing, you can throw the snowballs, but you have to participate in some way.
There you go. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So that is the two books that we read for the Chronicles of Narnia. So I'm enjoying this so far, and I haven't even started because I didn't want to start getting The Horse and His Boy and Magician's Nephew mixed up with any of this. So I haven't even started those yet. I've waited. But I'm going to pick one of those up here within the next 2 days, and so I'm excited to get back into the world.
I just finished Silver Chair today, so
just in time.
Yeah, just in time. But yeah, I'm excited too. I'm excited to see where this goes from here, especially because it sounds like the next two books are set in the past. So Horse and His Boy is going to be a past one, and then Magician's Nephew is the very first chronologically. So like that'll be interesting going back and seeing how these tie into the whole story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it'll be interesting where it's, thinking, because I do remember starting to read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and not liking it. But now, since going through it, when I come to these next two books, am I going to still say the way they're reading it is the best way to go? Or am I going to go back to,
chronological is better.
Chronological way would be better. It'll be interesting to see.
We will see. We will be able to say in our next discussion.
Yes. Shelley said, sounds.
Yeah, Gishy. So Gish is the Greatest International Scavenger Hunt, and it's like they do kind of strange stuff like that, but that would be a very Gish thing to do, like actually choreographing and putting on the snow dance. Like that sounds, yes, Shell, it's very Gishy.
I've never heard of that, so that's a new term I learned today.
It's fun, yeah.
Naomi says, you are going to love Aslan in Horse and His Boy. Now I'm really interested and can't wait.
Look at Shell's comment.
Let's see. Best book ever, Horse and His Boy. Yay!
Okay, so I'm excited. Yeah. I'm ready. Best book ever. You mean of Narnia or ever of ever, Shell? I'm excited about that one then, especially if Aslan plays a big role and Shell thinks it's the best of the series. I can't wait to find out.
Yeah, that's and Mariana says Aslan. Yes, definitely. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see too, because that's one thing that I have missed with reading this is how prevalent Aslan was more in the first book, in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and he's taken more of a backseat role in these other books, and so it'll be interesting to see if he becomes more prominent in the other ones as well, which I hope. But
yeah, I'm excited because I do feel like we don't quite get enough of Aslan in all the books. We get enough. We get, and I really liked him in Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, but we do get some good scenes with him. But he's always disappearing right when you want a little bit more. He's always taking off.
Let's see. Naomi says, absolutely, it is my favorite in the series, even though I see the flaws. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. Oh, she said she has a tattoo of Aslan.
Oh, really?
That's cool.
That is cool. I want to see it at some point. Well, I mean, that sounds weird. I'm sorry. That sounds creeperish, but if you ever feel like sharing, I would like to see it. Maybe after Horse and His Boy. Anyways, sorry, that was awkward.
Mhm.
So I don't know yet when our live show is going to be. The next one is going to be on my channel. I do have visitors that are going to be visiting through Labor Day weekend a little bit after that. So it won't be until like after, it won't be any time until like the 11th at least of September. So it depends on how well I can get through those 2 books within the next few weeks, considering we're going to have company. But yeah, we will keep you posted.
Yeah, we'll definitely let you know and keep you up to date on that. Yeah, and as long as it's not Labor Day weekend, but it sounds like we're going to be busy. I'm relieved it's not going to be that close. Yeah.
No, and I want to make sure we give everybody plenty of time to read it as well, including myself.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, on Labor's Day weekend, I work in retail, and so it's that weekend is like crazy busy. Even though the live show would be on a Sunday, I mean, that week leading up to it, I'll have very little time to read with it being a major holiday. So
totally understand. So yeah, we're not, and you know, it did take us a long time to get to this one, and that was mostly my fault because of work. I had to work most Sundays this month, and so when we were planning on doing it, I ended up having to work, so it just didn't work out for us. But
that just happens. But yeah, we just do the best we can. Naomi said she'll take a picture and send it to you for the next time if you want to show it. Then
yes, please do. That's exciting. Okay, cool. I would love to show that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
My gosh, so thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'll say thank you. And everybody congratulate Christine. This is her very first live show. Woo-hoo! She did it. She did it. She did so good. She did it. She did it. She did it so good.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I mean, I've always wondered how to do this because I've been interested in these for a long time. So this was very much the push that I needed to try this because it was just one of those things that just intimidated me to no end. So I'm glad I finally did it. Let's see. Another comment. Mariana says, thank you. It's been very interesting. I didn't know Amy, but you two are wonderful. Aw, thank you.
Mariana. I'm glad you got to join us.
Yes, me too. Thank you, Shelley.
I know that, you know, you were a little nervous, but you did fantastic. And you even managed all the comments really well. It takes some time to do that. You did fantastic.
It was great. You did a fantastic. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely one of the things that I'm because I've seen a lot of people do live streaming with reading. And so I've been tempted to want to try and do that, but it's like, so I don't know if it'll be just a once a month thing because I don't want to overwhelm myself, but yeah, definitely more interested in trying it out now that I know how to do the basics of StreamYard. So
yeah, it helps just knowing how to do it and having that that possibility is there. So if you feel like doing it, then you can, you know, and I had plans to do sprints like once a month. And obviously these last 2 months have been a little different for me, but that was like, it's been fun to just be able to do it and then have people on your channel if you're able to or want to come join you, or you can just do it on your own. Like it's nice to have that skill set just so you have it available there if you'd like to do it. And I love it because like with Mariana and different people in our comments, you know, Mariana's new to me, but like Naomi, we see a lot of Naomi in the discussions and Shell, and of course it's a really good opportunity for you to get a closer experience with people who are also reading the books with you, and you know, it's a lot of fun to have that interaction. Yeah.
Mariana says next time we'll be more prepared. No worries, you did a good job this time too, so you did great. All right, so I guess at this point I just hit end broadcast because we've talked about them. So and now Amy and I need to plan as far as kind of possible what day. So we'll go ahead and let you guys go and get back to your day or night or whatever time zone you are in. And we will just, I guess, talk to you guys later. It's like circling through.